Hello, everybody, and welcome to another multi-dimensional soul with myself, Gary, from Alternative Interactions, and
Robert-Lomax.
thank you very much, Robert. Now, today, this is kind of from a viewer's question and also something that has been out in the consciousness, the collective consciousness, for some time. Having a private chat before we came on, it's actually not something that Robert had particularly come across in the personal, was it?
Correct. The reason being is it's something that I didn't need to encounter. And Tamady and Orlaka have said to me constantly, you're a being of light. We're all beings of light. If you remain as such, even if you're aware of certain things around you, you don't need to be afraid of them. You're not going to resonate at that level with them and connect with them. So you're not going to focus on them. Therefore, you won't be drawn towards them. So there's no need to look at them.
So, what we're fundamentally talking about today, and obviously the introduction or the title will give you a big hint before we've talked about this, is upon passing, do you walk into the light or don't you walk into the light? What's going on? What is it? How is it perceived via a different energy frequency that's different to our current 3D realm of control? Now, I'm going to start first with my understanding of what potentially it is or is not, could be, and then Robert can put his own personal. Again, Robert's not really come across this, so it's not really been something that Robert's thought about, but certainly to get Antemedy or Larka's point of view on this or overview of this would be really interesting because who knows now. Walking into the light, a little bit of history from or understanding from my understanding of it. I think Don't Walk into the Light came from a film called Poltergeist. I don't remember watching the film ever. This is what I'm told. It's then become or been picked up as a thing that when we pass, we go down into a white light. And from near death experience, people saying that this is what they encountered. And there's been a big debate, should you walk into the light or should you not go to the light? I know of people that are very psychic, and they have said that when they've talked to relatives, that when they've passed, their relatives have passed, that there was someone there to greet them who looked like, say, a grandfather or a grandmother figure who really wasn't and didn't resonate in that way and was rejected. Now, that brings all sorts of different questions and confusions to it. My personal thought on all of is this is a very clever way of taking or extracting the last piece of loosh or energy from us as we pass over. So as source or the soul leaves the vessel, the last few thoughts that are going to come are going to be, oh my God, what do I do? Potentially, which creates an uncertainty, almost a fear, which is exactly the kind of thing that the construct or the regressive construct of this system wants to feed on. And I think it's just a very clever way of upping the levels of loosh that can be fed on. And I don't think it really matters either way because we are source created, connected beings. And fundamentally, on the avatars passing, there's absolutely nothing a third party interloper can do to affect that. There is also the soul trap that we may go into afterwards on this as well. But currently, let's stick to walking into the light or not. Robert, what are your thoughts? or Larkers or Antemides.
This is Orlaka, I think, actually. Well, it is, yeah. You made me smile in your comments. When you walk into the light, you have to remember you're walking into yourself. There is nothing there but you. You are a being of light. You are experiencing returning to your light, or the energy within your earth constructs returning to the light of yourself. It is that simple. As regards to the energy that moves off to the side, is this something that you wish to talk about? Because you were talking about the, I didn't want to move too far ahead.
Yeah, please.
When Robert spoke before, and Tamady was explaining, it was much like a stick that was being whittled so that you would create with a knife some shavings at the bottom of a stick. And these would be considered to be thought patterns that would go round on themselves, that didn't actually go anywhere. And in some ways, they were much like duality thoughts that you all think, which of themselves are like the eddies in a river. The river continues, but the swirls continue in that river. You are the river, you are the light, but there are these eddies within you. We've also said that light, or like, sorry, is attached to like. So if you are a being of light, anything that is not a being of light can be seen for what it is. There's no doubt about this. The doubts that you might have are the fears that you might have. In fact, when Robert was talking a short while ago, he said there's a difference, when this is with Gary, there's a difference between beware and be aware. One is based in fear and the other one is just an awareness. So there are vibrational levels that are similar. That which is not similar to the light cannot be of it. It may appear to cloak itself within it, but it cannot be what it is not. So if you have doubts about what you are seeing or fears about what you are seeing, you are judging what you are seeing through your fears. Most people, the vast majority of people, and let's call it all people, for if I do not say that, then I will increase the doubt, are drawn to the light. They are drawn to themselves. Why would they be drawn to anything else? So within the program of your world, the manipulated program, your energy has been at work. You came as a child, and if you remember what it was like, if you go way back, the freedom, the love, those things that existed, okay, there may have been many of you that did not have good childhoods. But there was a point before the constructs of your world imposed themselves upon you, even parents reflecting the constructs of those worlds. So there in your innocence, your purity, your thought patterns were being changed. Duality was coming in, needs and wants and desires, wanting to feel better, not wanting to be afraid. These are constructs within your programming, your energy that has interfaced with the constructs of that third dimensional program. So you have energized those programs. You have created them even though they were programs that were needing your energy in order that they became something. This is why we say when you withdraw your energy from something, it ceases to exist. So these can be considered like the eddies in this river. They are thought patterns. Now, if there is fear, let's take us in this respect. If there is fear that you may become hoodwinked, and I say there is nothing to fear, but just supposing that is a focus. You are focusing on the fear program, and it's just a program. It is a computer program. Let's put it in that term. It's a computer program that only exists because you've put energy into it. Now, when you go into that thought program, you think it's you. You think it's your thought, your fear, it's you. It's a program, it's an experience. That's not you. So as you focus into it, you believe you're there experiencing it, but you're only experiencing it through the program that's been energized in that world. Now, if your focus is not on that, you won't have that experience. However, your energy will still exist in some of those thought programs. Is that soul? What is soul? Is that you? So, as Gary was talking to Robert earlier, and they said, is that you, Gary? And he said, no, I'm a program. So it's about what you consider yourself to be. So it's like looking in the mirror and seeing your reflection and thinking you are what's in the mirror, and you're stuck in the mirror. But the real you is outside the mirror. That's just your focus, your experience. So all of these are experiences. As your focus continues towards the light of yourself, you will become more and more aware of thinking in a different way. Fear will dissipate. So you'll then be able to look back upon some of these programs that still have eddies that are no longer part of you. They have an energy in them. Now, what is that energy? Is it soul? If your focus is in that fear, it feels like it's soul, but it's energy. Energy into a program, energy into an experience. Soul is source energy. Source energy is inextinguishable. It is infinite. The expressions that come from source go into all sorts of parts of the universe. And if that energy returns and regenerates, fine. All energy is part of a feedback system. But if it gets caught in a loop, eventually the energy within that loop will dissipate. That is the same thing as de-energizing a program. If you have a thought program that, for example, well, let's take martyrdom. It's good to be a martyr. A martyr has to suffer in order to be a martyr. You can't be a martyr unless you suffer. So you're saying it's good that I suffer for other people. Therefore, I am noble because I suffer for other people. They can look at me and see that I am a martyr. Everything that I do in my life, I say to my family, look how I suffer for you. Oh, oh, I felt this pain. Oh, look what I've done. I'm telling you all the things I've done for my family. Look at how much I'm doing and how much I'm suffering for you, because I want you to tell me that you love me, in essence. In essence, because I don't love myself enough. Therefore, I need to seek to do all these things. Think how difficult that feels to let go of that program if you've been using it for a lifetime. Your parents have. If it's within your genes and your genetics as those vibrations. But if you let go of that program, you see what it is that you are doing. It's a program, that's not you. Are you the person that suffers? Are you the martyr? You identify as the martyr and you focus and you say, I am the martyr. That is me. It's just an experience. So as you let your energy go from that program, or you don't feed that program, any energy within it will dissipate. It matters not. You're not losing anything. You're inexhaustible, inextinguishable. And that program fades. Often during enlightenment, that process can feel like a part of you is dying. And in many respects, that's probably not a bad thing to feel. A mini death, part of you dying. It leaves more space for more programs, or for different programs and different energies. So perhaps I've come at this in a slightly different way, a way that was not expected, to explain the essence of who you are. And despite any bewares that you might have, let's make them an awareness that it's just a focus. As you begin to realize the enormity of who you are throughout this lifetime, the power that you have within you, it is just like the Matrix film. It is that these codes, they fall by the wayside. It is another trick of the Matrix. The Matrix is dissolving, so even these programs to extract more loosh will dissipate, but the loosh that they are extracting is only the residual energy that exists within those programs. It's not your soul. It's not going to feed on your soul. You don't need to fear about being lost. You are not going to be lost. It's whether you've got your focus on that process of the energy being dissipated, being aware of what is happening. So you don't need to feed more focus energy into that particular loop of experience of extraction. And the amount of extraction is minuscule. So that which is the purity of yourself feels as the purity of yourself. I don't know if I have fully expunged any fear that people may have, because that's part of your program. I've just talked through about the program of being a martyr and allowing that to be a death of you, feeling that a part of you has died. And in a way, there is a sadness, because there is sometimes a benefit in being a martyr. That you wouldn't be a martyr unless there was a benefit. You wouldn't allow yourself to suffer unless there was a benefit in suffering. Now then, that's a program. A benefit in suffering? Look how corrupted that is. Isn't that absolutely bonkers? You hold to the idea that suffering is a wonderful thing. And without this explanation and the energy of me bringing it into you in this way, if I had come and I had started out by saying that you believe that suffering is a wonderful thing, you would have said, you do not understand us. You're talking rubbish. And this is what Antimonide has been talking about with Robert as well, that the way in which you think, how you think about yourself, needs to be explored fully. And when you understand the processes, how you process energy, how you process information, you can let go of some of these constructs. Enlightenment is supposed to have been the key, but enlightenment has been manipulated. We spoke only a few weeks ago, and Tammany spoke only a few weeks ago about the word Om, the vibration of the universe, and how that had been manipulated. Gary and Gordon and others have said the whole thing is a lie, it is a construct. Yes, we would say it's closer to the word Halum. And that's to do with the multidimensional nature of the universal soul. Sorry, she's just gone. That's just how.
No, that's really good, really good. So some very interesting points come from that, and I'm gonna surmise these, and hopefully at the end, just a very simple, fundamentally, yes, that's correct, is good enough with this one, because I do want to go on to another subject that's connected. Okay. So you are the light. I am the light. Robert is the light. We are all the light. Our soul connection, source connection is the light. So walking into the light is only walking into yourself. You're only rejoining yourself. If you take the fact that we are a fractal of ourselves here in this realm, that fractal is only merely joining back to its own self. That's all the light is. So walking back to the light, if it was a trap and the frequencies didn't vibrate, you wouldn't be able to do it. And it's not powerful enough. The regressives are not powerful enough to stop this source energy connection. There's nothing they can do about that. We are all powerful beings. Source is all powerful. We have been brainwashed into thinking that we're not, but we truly are. So, walking into the light is not a problem at all. And remember, where your attention goes, your energy flows. So, by giving this your energy, you're creating something, you're the creators of everything. You then create the own paradigm of this in the first place. It's a creation. Somebody has made a film, there has been words spoken about something, and suddenly it becomes a thing. That thing is then created because we're true creators of the universe. And so we then have caused our own issues by giving it the energy that it does not deserve. And now this is via a perception of the experience. So we've created a perception of an experience that we're going to have when we pass. Because we've created that perception, we will have that experience if you choose to have that experience, because it's all free will and choice on that. I personally do not choose to have that experience, and I don't really care. I don't mean that in a negative way, but for me personally, it has no fundamental importance to me one way or the other. I've then taken my energy from it And so that is now not a thing. You know, when Olaka was talking before about the limits of our thought and perceptions, what struck me very clearly was a computer game. So you've got a computer game and you're inside a computer game and you're playing the computer game. But there are only so many moves, so many things you can do inside that computer game. The rest of it is limited and it's stopped. But the computer game is not everything. The computer game is just one small aspect of the potential everywhere else. But because you're focused on the computer game and that you can only move certain ways, and when you go into a building, you can only do this or that. This is how we're controlled by the regressives. This is how our minds are controlled or moved or distorted into thinking that we can only do what we can do, when in actual fact, we're all powerful and we can create and do whatever we want. And so nothing is fixed upon us and nothing is something we have to do. And so if we see some of this new age psyop for what it truly is and say, not for me, thank you very much, I'm removing my energy from it, it then stops being a thing, and that little box of the computer program that you were stuck inside disappears, and then we get on. We go back to how it should have been in the first place.
Well said. I did write some notes as you were saying, and this is antimoney. Olaka expressed the feeling, the essence, that she hadn't quite expunged the totality of the fear, the few threads of fear, the perceptions. So one might perceive, for example, going down a tunnel and just looking either side rather than looking at the light itself. So what you see is a mirror of your mind that is within the constructs of the Earth program. So you are seeing reflections of the construct. I know I've said that loudly and quite firmly, and that's for purpose. You are seeing the construct as you move through it and away from it towards yourself, towards your light. So that brings in the point about fear. Fear is part of the Earth construct. As you are understanding this information now, you are understanding this information through the matrix, through the fear programs, through all of this. So any fears that you are perceiving about what is going to happen, you are perceiving through the fear of the current construct. As you move beyond this construct, fear won't exist. You won't see it in the same way. You won't fear being pulled off to one side because the fear won't exist. You know, if you look at either side as you move down that tunnel, whatever you see is a reflection of the matrix that you've been working through. It's a reflection of your own mind. Don't fear your own mind. That's how it links, because if you feel it's something else, it's only a construct. So your perception from where you are, of course, it will make you feel afraid if that's what you want to perceive it as. But as you move beyond that, and most people who have out-of-body experiences, the last thing that they experience is fear. They talk about the wonderful things, moving around the room, seeing themselves under on an operating table. So I think this is a non-issue.
I
Interesting, isn't
agree
it?
entirely. I agree entirely. And I think it is a non-issue. And that's very well put. Something else that is linked in with this is something called the soul trap, that our souls are trapped inside this construct and that we have no way of leaving. And when we pass, the soul gets recycled straight back in to be reborn and have another lifetime experience. Doesn't matter how enlightened you get, some of the perception that we get reborn back in and we can never get outside of this barrier. Let's put it that way. Now, for me personally, if I'm source, there are no boundaries. There's no limits. You know, the only thing that keeps me in this realm is this physical avatar. Once the avatar is gone, there is no limits, there's no boundaries. Everything is available, everything is possible. For me personally, that's the way I see it. There is no soul trap. This is the hardest level of all. And you've come in and you've had an experience. That experience was completely different to any experience you can get anywhere else within the universe. Why wouldn't you want to come back and experience that experience, even though we see this experience as toxic? And it is fundamentally a toxic experience. But this is the only place in the universe where you can get a toxic experience to the level of this toxicity. Why wouldn't you want to become the master of that game so that when you left and never came back again, you would have these understandings, memories, not drivers, not scars, but this amazing experience that you can look back on and say, I'm so pleased I had that experience, but I'm not going to have that anymore. But if I ever see anything like that again, I will recognize it and feel and understand that straight away and will choose not to take that path and understanding of that. So for me, there is no soul trap. Robert, Alaka, and Temidi, what are your thoughts on the soul trap, please?
We talked of traps within the traps, and this is what it is. Karma is a human misconstrued and manipulated idea of energy return. You create with energy, the energy returns. You experience what you have created. If you've created energy that is negative, you recoup that negative energy and you can transmute it. Doesn't mean you have to suffer. Warnock already explained that you could also see suffering as something wonderful. So karma, we did a program with Gary earlier on, Robert did a program with Gary earlier on, how the constructs of karma were breaking down as well, because that's part of manipulated ideas of energy return. And as Gary said, it's going back into the negative realm. You go back into all of those previous programs, and it's difficult to remember and understand that you are a being of light and that the whole thing is just an experience, a game for you. And it becomes so visceral and so real, you become wrapped up in it. So there is no soul trap. It feels like one when you go back in because you feel as though you're trapped. And yes, you are trapped. You've freely gone in to a trap to experience that trap. That's all it is. Your soul isn't trapped. It's experiencing being trapped and separated from the rest of its soul, a separation experience. And we could say how brave you are to have such separation experiences, because there are very few souls that enter such experiences. But then, of course, to be brave, you have to be afraid. So the whole thing is a duality construct anyway. So there is no soul trap, only the appearance of soul trap, the feeling of being trapped. the perception of information through your constructs. Look how blinded you are in every moment. Go ahead and enjoy your suffering.
It's very, very interesting, isn't it? When you start to peel away some of the layers of the onion of the mind, as we do the self work and we grow and absorb and see things differently, that we get to a stage where you can kind of see the folly of the program and you can see almost how insignificant the program really is. And the program only exists because we allow it to exist. And the collective consciousness is totally and utterly brought into the program and the process of the 3D with the regressive situation over the top of it.
Yeah.
That's a collective consciousness. And as individual source fractals, we've come in here and we've brought into the collective consciousness experience, and we've all lived it. All of us have lived it. All of us. There's, very, very few people that came through on day one and thought, hang on a minute, this is a construct. It's not really real. And this is all a bit of a game and it's not real. No one does that. Everybody has, regardless, even me today, with my understanding knowledge, I still get sucked into the matrix of the collective consciousness, having the human experience inside a regressive controlled realm. But then we have the ability to step back and observe this. When you really observe it without emotion and detachment, you can then really start to see how it all works and how it all plays out and what the players are doing and how they're doing stuff to create certain situations to grow the fear or the loose harvesting potentials of what they're doing. There's no soul trap. There's no issue with walking into the light. These are 3D control constructs designed to entrap us to create an emotional response that allows the regressive energy, the Fibonacci sequence energy, to maintain its power by feeding upon that energy. As soon as you remove that energy and that fear, you are no longer any use whatsoever to the regressives, the Fibonacci sequence, or whatever else you want to call it, the devil, the demiurge, any name you want to give it. You then become a completely separate entity within this realm, and then you can start to play the realm and understand and see it for what it truly is. The choice is yours.
I think that's a great summation, Gary.
Have you got anything further to add to this show? I know it's not particularly long, but I think there's an awful lot of information there for people to take in, and it was really always going to be walking into the light, stroke soul trap, and nothing else in this program because I think it's a very important one. And again, we are not in any way reducing or taking away anybody's feelings or perceptions on this subject in any way, shape, or form. It's just that I think I can see through the matrix programming of this particular one, and it's nice that Olaka and Antemidi see it in a very similar way. So it's a choice, it's a free will choice of how you want to take this information and what you want to do with it or not.
Alum, remember, you are light. Everything around you is just an experience. The more you reside in the light of yourself, the more you see the world around you as a hologram, Yes, as Gary says, he and Robert have experiences where the programming has its fingers triggering certain things that they need to experience and have those human experiences. But return to that moment each time we're talking. Remember, you are light. What is wrong with that as a process? Remembering your power to create energy and experience energy. There is no punishment. Punishment never existed. Who on earth is a god of punishment? Who created that idea? It didn't exist. It was created. It's part of the matrix. Even the idea that you punish yourself for what you feel you have done wrong. You see, punishment is part of the construct. If you have created an energy that is negative and it returns to you, you do not need to punish yourself. You can change that energy. You're a creator. There is no need for punishment. Remember, you are light. That's all we can say.
Beautifully put. Yeah, beautifully put. You are love and you are light unconditionally, and that will never ever change. That's who you truly are. I think on that one we shall leave it there, Robert. I think we've covered that quite nicely. And so thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Please remember, Robert has a website, YouTube channel, and has a couple of books that are free on his website via PDF. And Robert's also on Facebook. So please do check him out. And with that, everybody, love, light, and blessings. And I shall catch up with you soon. So it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from us.
Bye bye.